What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today we're going to answer the big question: is 2022 a good time to start a used car dealership? Now, there's been a lot of doom and gloom and stuff going around the market. There's a lot of banks that are dropping out of the market as well. Plus, there's a lot of people that are paying way too much money for cars at the auction. So is it a good time to open up a used car dealership? My personal opinion is yes. There's going to be a lot of people kind of dying out and some other things going on that's going to open the market up to a lot of people. So make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video. I'm going to kind of give you a breakdown of all the things I believe what's going to happen, and also how to prepare yourself so if you are starting a used car dealership in 2022, you'll be totally prepared. But before I get into it, if you can do me a huge favor and gently squeeze the like button for the YouTube algorithm, it helps me find more amazing people like yourself so to enjoy automotive content. Also, please consider subscribing. We do post 3 times a week, so make sure you click the notification bell. And without any more shameless plugging, let's get into the video. So is it a good time to start a used car dealership in 2022? And I honestly believe it is. And I'm going to give you some of my breakdowns. This may be a long video, so stay tuned, grab some popcorn, and definitely smash the like button. I truly appreciate it. So what we're going to go into right now is there's a lot of people that are scared about jumping into the market because of what's going on in the current economy. So as you guys see, you read the newspapers, the Great Resignation, a lot of people are scared. People are leaving their jobs. People are not going back to work. You got a lot of people with no skills wanting $30 an hour to go back to work. Unemployment is dropping. A lot of the benefits that people are getting as far as stimulus, unemployment benefits, what else? Some of the forbearance programs they had for mortgages and cars. All that stuff is coming to an end, finally. Now, I know this sounds bad. There are some people that honestly, truly need that, but there are a lot of people that have been robbing the piggy bank and making it unfortunate for a lot of people. So what's going to happen is, this market is going to start changing. Now, before we get into the market change, I'm going to talk about why this is so important when it comes to you starting a dealership in 2022. So a lot of the people are really worried right now because they see so many people overpaying for cars. There's this big mystique that, the cars you bought for $10,000 a year ago is now $15,000. How can you make profit with that type of markup? There's always going to be inflation, but right now we're in a period of hyperinflation, if you want to call that. A lot of dumb people overpaying for cars, a lot of excess money in the actual economy. So that's why everything has risen up. But don't be fooled by these prices. This is not something that's going to be sustained for a long period of time. We've talked about it numerous times on this channel. I know a lot of times I get flack for people saying the prices are not going down. I'm telling you, when we first started doing these videos about a year ago, I think, when the pandemic hit, we watched as they had, 100, 200 cars running through the auction. Now we're upwards of, I think, like 11 to 2,000 running through the market right here in Vegas alone. If you go to some of your small independent dealers, you'll see they have more than 5 cars like back in the day. Now they have 30 cars, 40 cars. You look at some of the franchise stores, they used to have nothing. We're going by some of the ones here on Sahara. They got rows of cars. A few are still staying scarce. A lot of them are stocking up. So as you drive around, you're going to start to see that the market is not as bad as what they're hyping everybody up to believe. They keep preaching there's a shortage. The reason why they're going to do this is because they want to keep the prices high. And the reason is if I go to the auction today, and like I told you guys, prices are slowly dropping about 2 to 3% per month. As you, the general consumer, are not going to notice this. Us as dealers and wholesalers, we're the first to see it. It takes about 90 days for when the market collapses here for the market for retail to catch up. The reason is if I buy a car, let's say right now for 30 grand and the market collapses, and that same $30,000 car is now 25 grand. What's going to happen is all the dealers that are out here are still comfortable. They're going to, I'm going to sell it in 40 days, 50 days, 60 days. I'm just going to liquidate it. So they're going to keep the prices high. After that 90-day marker, everybody else that bought I bought my car right now for 30. Then the guy next month bought it for 25. The next guy after that maybe bought it for 23. So the prices are going to start going down. So when these two guys list their cars for $28.50 and my car's still priced at 35, whatever, and mine's going to look so overpriced, it's going to cause a market correction. So that's what we're waiting for. So when I talk about prices dropping, unfortunately with retail consumers, you are not going to see prices drop. And a lot of these dealers are living off of the fear that you are an uneducated buyer, that you're not taking the time to do your due diligence and find a cheaper car. I've seen it. I even do it sometimes myself. When people call, I'll give you $30,000 for the car. I'm like, nope, I want 35. I'll give you 30 cash right now. Nope, I know what I got. There's none of them around in the United States. Go find another one. And I know that they're going to come back to me right now because there's not a lot out there and people are not, they're so desperate, they have this need to buy the car right away. So dealers are living off of this fear. Don't believe in it. The reason why I think you should start up a used car dealership in 2022 is there's going to be a lot of dealers that are going to be trickling out of business. I'm already seeing the first wave go through. So as you guys know, prices are going down at the auction. People don't have their big down payments because all the stimulus dollars are gone, they're broke. So little by little, the prices are adjusting and the lending is getting even tighter because even the banks know that something bad's gonna happen. They don't know how bad it is, but they know something's gonna happen. So as these banks start to pull back with lending, they're gonna require bigger down payments and more recourse. And what's gonna happen to a lot of the current dealers, they're so over in their cars, they can't get the big down payments to offset them overpaying for cars, and now they're gonna have to start either lowering the prices dramatically or taking the cars back to the auction. And this happens every tax season, this happens every presidential election. The market dips a little bit, it doesn't crash, it just dips, it does a market correction. So when I start talking about market correction, you're not gonna be buying cars 50% of what they used to be. It's only gonna be about maybe 8 to maybe 15% difference, if that, you know. So they're gonna dip a little bit, people are gonna get desperate. A lot of the dealers are gonna have to take their cars to the actual auction to get rid of them. There's a big flooring company called Next Gear Capital. It's one of the biggest that most dealers have for independents and some franchise stores. They will pressure dealers when they see the market going bad to get rid of their cars or to pay off a certain amount because they see what's happening. So already right now, I've seen in several markets, these banks are calling their dealers saying, hey, how much money do you have? I think you should pay off 2-3 cars. I think you should pay off this car. I think you should get this one to the auction. They never do that unless they start to see default rates go up. And I believe, honestly, that's what's happening right now. So as these default rates start going up, you're gonna see all across the United States, one state by another state by another state, they're all gonna start having defaults across the board. And what happens is that triggers their internal system to start auditing dealers. They used to audit once a month. Now they're gonna be auditing twice a month. During the pandemic, they were doing it once a week. They were so afraid that people were gonna spend the money and take it and then disappear that they were gonna get screwed. And that's what's gonna happen. And as you start to see this unfold, a lot of dealers are going out of business. Also, one of the other things that I've seen a lot of dealers go out of business, which is not a fault of their own, are greedy landlords. You know, don't get me wrong, if you're a property owner, hey, we wanna make our money, but you do not double or triple your rent. That's what's going on here in Vegas. There was a dealer friend of mine, great guy. I won't say his name because I think the landlord actually watches my channel. You know, he's a good guy. He's been there for 10 years at this place. The landlord literally doubled his rent. Not even raised it a few bucks, you know, hey, you've been loyal, never been late. I'm gonna double your rent, and if you don't pay it, get out. He left about 2 months ago, I believe, and it's still empty, and nobody wants to rent it. He wants a spot that he was renting for $6 grand a month. Now he wants a little over like 13.5 or 13.8 for it. And it's never gonna happen. I mean, it's not to sound bad, it's surrounded by a bunch of tweakers, but that's what's happening in the market. So for you as a newcomer, there's gonna be lots of opportunity because every time these people screw up, they get what's called KO'd, which is blackballed from the automotive industry. So every time these dealers get kicked out and do shady deals and go bankrupt, they get KO'd and get kicked out and they can't come back in unless they open up under, they usually do it under their cousin's name or something like that. But what's gonna happen is that's gonna start leaving space for some of you new guys to squeeze in there and start your business. Now, I recommend getting in now because this is a really tough market. It's gonna be hard. You're gonna have to be extremely competitive. You're gonna have to be smart and very close with your money. And these are gonna breed extremely good habits for when you move forward because once the market frees up a little bit, you won't have to struggle as much looking for a car. You won't have to struggle as much trying to get financing deals done. It'll get a little bit easier as the market corrects itself. So if you could survive during now and about a year from now, you're gonna be, you know, making gravy because everything hopefully should be back to normal. The whole BS supply chain thing is gone. The whole chip shortage is, I honestly think it's complete BS because I've been to Michigan. I've seen what they got going over there. There's cars leaving that factory every day. There's no chip shortage. Why would they want to sell, you know, 100,000 cars and break even on them when they could sell $50,000 cars and make a $6,000 to $7,000 profit on each one, and then the dealers can mark it up an extra 5–10%. I know, simple math to me, but anyways, I digress. I won't get into conspiracy theories. But as you start to see your market change, drive around your local area. You're gonna see some of these little dealerships slowly dying away. Now, once you get started, I'm going to tell you right now, you need to build your good lines of credit with your banks and with your vendors. That's going to be key to your success. I see a lot of these dealers that call me today that ask for either consulting calls or when we go out and do training, most of them don't have any type of financing. It blows my mind. I've met big dealers in Texas that are like on a 3-acre lot full of cars and they don't own, like they have like 2 banks. You know, you need to have like 7 to 10 banks for each demographic. We're talking prime, subprime, deep subprime, and just buy here, pay here, and just the wackest customers on earth. You need to have every single one, and you need to have 7 to 10 banks for each particular vendor. We've talked about it a few times on the channel. Go through, make sure you watch my videos. I talk about it all the time. Financing is going to be your key. A lot of these banks are being burned by dealers right now because they can't afford to give them titles. They can't afford what's called a buyback. So one by one, these banks are cutting off these old dealers, and you're going to start to see these guys as well fall by the roadside, which is going to leave more space for you to come in and start your business. Now, as we start to do this, I recommend branching out. We talked about the rental car business a bunch on this channel. We've talked about automotive repair. As you build your foundation, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for you to take advantage of the current market. If they're not buying a car, you're going to fix their car. If you can't fix their car, you're going to rent them a car. And if you can't rent them a car, you're going to go back and sell them another car. And it's just going to be this big repeating cycle over and over again. We're going to talk about how do we know that your market is good for a used car dealer. I would recommend driving around your area and see your competition. There's nothing wrong with going to either look at some of your competition, or even if you want, go work for them for a month or so. You know, I tell a lot of people, they're like, I want to open up a dealership. And I'm like, oh, cool. Tell me about your dealer experience. And they have 0. I strongly recommend before you open up a dealership, go work at a small independent lot and go work at a franchise store. These will give you both ends of the spectrum of how easy and how hard it is to actually run a dealership. And as you start to see this, you're going to see some of the pitfalls. You're going to see some of the good things they do, some of the bad things they do, but kind of take that market into place and learn from these people and see what will be best for you. Now let's say you've worked for them for about a month. Go around, like I said, check out your market and see what's going on. If you see dealerships going out of business left and right, a lot of people feel like that's a bad thing. It is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing, because every time they go away, they're freeing up about 20 to 30 sales per small lot. So if 4 of them go out of business, you know, in December, fantastic. You need to be one of the 3 that are opening up in January. So every time you see one go by, just figure that's 30 more sales to your pocket. The population's not changing unless you live in California, where there's people fleeing left and right. But for the rest of the places, most of them are gaining people or staying, you know, the same. So you want to make sure that you replace those people, you replace those sales with your personal sales from your dealership. So check your market, see what's working in there, talk to some of your other friends, talk to some vendors. You know, there's nothing wrong with calling some of the local banks and sitting with them and asking them, hey, you know, if I open up a car dealership, would you do business with me? How is the market? What do you see? A lot of people don't talk to the bankers. I don't know why. These bankers go from dealership to dealership to dealership. Their job is to get deals from different dealers. So they see what dealers do good, what dealers do bad. They can tell you what's hot in your market. They can tell you what to stay away from. So you get a lot of knowledge from them, and they're more willing to talk to you than most dealers, unfortunately. Like we talked about before on the channel, you try to ask for help from another dealer, the most likely they're going to tell you to go kick rocks, pound sand. They don't want to deal with you. They're not going to help you. They just see you as competition instead of maybe a friend or somebody they can network with. So unfortunately, that is the way of the business. But reach out to a lot of these bankers. They're floating all over the area. Westlake is a big nationwide company. Usually if you call Westlake, tell them you're a new dealer and get the rep's number, that's the easiest way. You can be like, hey man, I'm thinking about opening up a dealership in, I don't know, Oklahoma. You know, what's Tulsa's market like? Is it good? You know, is it bad? Is it good? Does it have good cars, trucks, SUVs? What is it going to be? What's my market like? And they'll give you somewhat of an inclination of what it's actually going to be and what to set up for. So now that we got that out of the way, like I said, you want to have banks. When you first start off, don't go too big too fast. I see this a lot. People romanticize the fact of, well, my buddy's got $2 million of credit. My other buddy, he's got like brand new Mercedes on his lot, and he's got, you know, Range Rovers and Wranglers and all this stuff, and I want that. And so they rush to get there. Don't do it. One of the biggest mistakes I made was selling more nicer cars. I learned this about 2 years down the road where I had a big problem with selling my cars and having issues even with my flooring line. But one of the things I tell people is if you start with affordable cars, you can never go wrong with cars under $10,000. I know they're buckets, I know they're not glamorous, but I tell you what, they sell faster than anything else. You can have your friends brag, oh, I bought a $30,000 Wrangler and I sold it for $35,000 in 2 hours. But he risked 30 grand to make maybe after fees $2,000, $3,000. Where you could risk 5 grand and make maybe $2,000 off that same car, and you could buy 5 or 6 of them at the same time and sell those off. So start small, stay small for at least 2 years. Do not outgrow yourself. If you want to add more cheap cars to your fleet, I don't see a problem with that. If you want to get maybe 1 or 2 what we call bait cars, more higher end cars to bring people in, I'm okay with that. But do not, and I repeat, do not switch up going from, if you're selling busted Kias and Ford Focuses and all of a sudden you're starting to sell Range Rovers and 7 Series Beamers, you are done. Now, one of the other things is the banks. You want to buy for what the banks want you to buy. A lot of people get consumed with, well, I like this. This is what I want to sell. Tell you right now, if you're not in a good credit area, Range Rovers, don't even touch them. 7 Series BMWs, don't touch them. Any type of Mercedes, BMW, Audi, Cadillac, none of those, stay away from those unless you have good credit customers. Because most of these banks are going to be mid-prime and subprime. That's just what's floating out there right now. People with good credit can go to a franchise dealership and buy at very low interest, if not zero interest with some of these stores. We can't compete. So what you got to do to offset that is make sure that you specialize in what your bank sells. So if your bank's like, hey, we love Chevys, we love Toyota, we love Honda, go buy those cars. Do not buy what you want. A lot of people get stuck in that mentality of, well, I want to fill my lot full of JDM cars. I have a friend right now, I'm begging him not to do it. He thinks he's going to be smart and revolutionize the industry. It's not going to work. I'm hoping when you're watching this. So he's going to fill up his lot full of RX-7s, Teslas, Supras, what else? Mitsubishi Lancers, WRXs, all the cars the kids want that are extremely popular, but none of the kids have big down payments. And when you have old cars, especially old Japanese cars, they're not going to finance them. They're going to give them like 36 months, even if they have good credit. So he's in for a world of hurt. He's going to find that out, but he doesn't want to listen. So, you want to get something that your bank will say, hey, you know what? We'll sell at your dealership. If you have any Ford Focuses from 2015 to 2021, that's what we want. We'll do 60 months. All the way up to maybe 84 months. We'll give you 5% all the way up to 15.5. They'll give you a range of what they want and what they want you to buy in. You stick to that. Do not deviate. I'm telling you, because there's nothing worse when, oh, I got a deal on a really nice Mercedes. I got a used S-Class. It's beautiful. It's got 80,000 miles. It's a 2007. And then you look at all your banks and none of your banks take anything below a 2010. Now you're stuck with this 2007. Even though you got a smoking deal and it's 3 grand back a book, if you don't have a bank to buy it, don't mess with it. Now you could sit there and wait for the customers to have with their credit union or cashier's check, but we all know educated consumers that come with a credit union or cashier's check do not want to pay. When I go buy a car, I'm not paying whatever you want. I'm like, hey, I got a cashier's check for my credit union for, let's say that car is $18,000. I got it for $17,500 out the door. We'll pay a penny more. You're like, oh, well, it's 18 plus taxes plus nope, 17.5. Either take it or I'm going to go somewhere else. And you're going to be like, okay, well, I'll take it because I need the money. I got to get it off my line. And boom, you're done. You lost a bunch of money. So make sure you stay in the realm of buying cars for your banks and for your area. Another one, I've seen a lot of people do this, especially in the Midwest, which I really don't understand. If you're in an area where, let's say it's a very, blue collar area, there's a lot of industrial jobs. Buy trucks, buy good solid family sedans. Don't go out and buy sports cars and lowered SUVs and all this stuff. It's not going to work in your market. You need to pay attention, like I said, what's in your market and what your banks want. As long as you do those things, you should be fine. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is how do you make yourself stand apart from the rest of the dealers that are opening up? It's 2022, the internet is live. What are you going to do? I tell everybody, social media is key. if you're not spending a good chunk of your money on marketing through social media, you're a fool. We do it all the time. Pretty soon you're going to see my ads. We're going to be running them nationwide. We're going to be buying cars all across the United States. So you're going to literally see my face on your Facebook and Instagram. Mark my words. But it works. That's why we do it, because we can show results from this. Don't advertise in Auto Trader. Don't advertise in Car Gurus, because Car Gurus is just going to tell you how expensive your cars are, and they just want you to go cheap, 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 and there's no benefit for you. You're paying somebody $5,000 to basically tell you your cars are overpriced. Don't do it. Cars.com, a lot of these other ones, don't. Build your social media brand. If you are the fun dealership group in your area, it'll make it much more appealing. I go to different areas. I was just looking at a dealership in Seattle, and this guy, he's been there for 10 years. I think he's in Linwood, down this one main drag, and he's got a bunch of dealers to compete with. And I looked in his area, I was like, none of your dealers do any cool advertising? He's like, well, what do you mean cool? I was like, nobody puts up videos. They all put up pictures. They put up a stagnant picture, like let's say this is the car. It's like a picture of a car, 3 texts, buy this today, call me. That's it. That's what he has to compete with. So, I told him, if you were to make some funny videos, like, hey, here at Seattle Auto Sales, every time the, Seattle scores a touchdown, we're going to give you $100 off your discount. If you come in with the 49ers jersey and burn it in front of our building, we're going to give you an extra $500 off. Do something funny and creative to bring people into your market. This days of, oh, I'm gonna float on the roadside, and I'm gonna put big, what are those guys, the wiggly arm guys, they're flopping around. I'm gonna put one of these guys on the side of my building, and we're gonna get all the business in the world. No. I don't care if you are the smartest buyer in the world, you have the best banks in the world, and you're the greatest finance manager of all time, and you can get people approved, you will not sell any cars unless you can bring bodies through the door. That's why you'll see some of these dealerships in your towns, and you guys will know them, and some of you dealers are watching this will contribute to it. They're like, well, why am I doing bad? But the dealership 2 doors down is killing it. That guy's an idiot. He's probably doing something. He built a brand. He may be known as the guy that helps people out. There's a few dealers here in Vegas that are known for dealing with the Latino community. They don't do any advertising. They just focus on the Latino community. Every Spanish grocery store, every Spanish radio station, anything that has to do with the Spanish community, they're in there. They're like, hey, we're the #1 dealer. We help anybody that needs help with either, if you have an ITIN number, matricula. These are things that if you're new to the country, you don't have a regular passport or ID, there's banks that will finance them. A lot of people don't know this, and so they're leaving that market behind, and these guys are scooping up all these people and getting sales upon sales. So if you're in your area and you're specializing in trucks and SUVs, you need to have some really cool financing. Hey, look, not only do we have amazing financing, but we could finance, if you buy a base truck, we'll get you $5,000 on the back end so we can lift it and put some wheels up. Put some crazy ass marketing, have some videos. Take a $500 truck, drive that piece of shit off the side of the like a mountain or something, and blow it up. Take an AR, put some tannerite, stick it inside there, shoot a few rounds, blow that thing up. Something to make your ads pop, because without social media, you are going to be dead in the water. And that's one of the things that I'm noticing right now, that a lot of the dealers are older guys. Not saying that's wrong or that's bad. I'll be honest with you, the older guys are much smarter than you. So don't think that just because they're not doing social media, that they're not crafty. When it comes to numbers and buying cars, they'll beat 90% of everybody out there. But the only thing you can compete with them is social media marketing. They don't believe in it. When we go around to other dealer groups and we tell them, hey, we're going to help you with your social media marketing, we're going to bring you sales, they can't fathom it. Well, how are you going to bring me sales? Well, I'm going to put this ad, and this person's going to message it. And when they message you, it's your salesman's job to talk to these people. Well, they're not here in person. It's a cold lead. I'm like, no, this is a hot lead. These are worth money because you're talking to the person right now, and you get to look at their profile. You can get their name, put it in your CRM. You can start mailing out mailers, text mailing them, whatever you want to do. And these people don't understand it. It blows my mind. So when it comes to that, there's a massive amount of opportunity when it comes to building your market in the social media era. Now we're going to talk about location. Now, I know Business 101 tells you to save as much money as possible. We don't want to have a large overhead. We want to keep our overhead low. But there's a few things that I'll counter with that. So you can have a cheap, affordable place. Maybe let's say it's a warehouse, or it's a little yard with a shop in it, maybe miles and miles outside of town. And if you can get something maybe $500 more expensive that's in the middle of town, that's on a main street, I highly recommend it. There's a few reasons why. The first reason why is, one, you get drive-by traffic. That is key when you're first starting up, because you'll notice as you start to build even your social media thing, it's going to take time. It's a snowball. It's going to slowly build into something good. But for those immediate sales, you need to have a storefront. And especially a lot of people, they think it's a bad thing. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to be around any other dealers. They're going to steal my sales. You're going to steal their sales. Everybody's going to steal sales from each other. That's the point of being there. It's like, have you ever wondered why if McDonald's opens up on one corner, Burger King's right next door, if there's a gas station on this side and there's another gas station on the other side, it's because they know there's nothing wrong with competition. They know that if they can't get you going, they're going to get you going. It's part of business. It's part of math. If they're in the area and they're looking at, let's say, a Nissan 350Z and two dealerships next to you have one, but you know, you're a small new dealer, you don't do any type of marketing, let's say on Auto Trader, and they didn't see you, you know, and all of a sudden they stumble upon your dealership, they're like, oh, you got a 350Z? Oh, this is exactly what I wanted. Boom, now you turn around and you sell it. You wouldn't have gotten that sale unless they were actually driving around looking for that. And then you have a lot of what's called your traditional buyers, people that don't believe in actually shopping online. They want to physically go somewhere, touch the car, drive the car, talk numbers. There are fewer of those coming around, but there's a lot of people that are still like that. So they'd rather drive down to their, you know, just like when you want to buy something, and let's say you're in the mood for something like a football jersey. You're going to go to Big Five. You're going to go to your local sporting goods store. That's where you know you're probably going to find your football jersey. Just like people with cars. Well, I know that, you know, like here, it's called Boulder Highway. I mean, it's full of like hookers and meth heads, but that's one of our streets that has all the car lots on there. So as you drive down this lot, there's dealers upon dealers upon dealers. So it gives you a chance to where they're like, well, I'm going to start here and I'm going to work my way down here and I'm going to see what they have. You'll run into those type of people, and that's what will set you up for success when it's starting off in the beginning. So if you could spend a few more dollars and actually get a storefront, it would definitely pay you massive dividends. Plus, when it comes to you getting these banks that we talked about, a lot of the bankers like it when you have a nice, clean storefront. It makes them, you look more professional to them. They realize that your ability to succeed is much higher when you have a quality storefront. Now, the next section we're going to be talking about is a little bit about finance, but it also involves capital. So if you don't have a lot of capital, that's okay. I'm just going to talk about it so this way you guys know. So as the market starts to change and as these banks start pulling back because of the more massive defaults and people losing their cars, it's going to be a prime time to start up buy here, pay here. Buy here, pay here is where you as the dealer finances the consumer in a vehicle. And I'll be honest with you, if I could have done anything differently back when I first started, I would have 100% started in buy here, pay here and stayed there. I would have had a massive bankroll. I would have been set for life. I would have just been laughing, enjoying my time. Now, when you first start out with buy here, pay here, it's going to be a little bit cumbersome because it is very capital intensive. You know, you buy a car for, let's say, $3,000. Customer gives you $1,500 down. Maybe $300 of that goes out for sales tax. But then the customer gives you, you always want to set up for weekly payments so you can get your money back quicker. Every week, the customer, let's say it's $100. Hey, just pay me $100 a week. Customer comes in every week, peels you off $100. You know, in 36 months, you have all your money back. But let's say you charge them 29% interest. Instead of you maybe selling that car for cash for, let's say, $3,500, you financed it for $69.95 with 29% interest. Now you're making, let's say, $3,500 off of the car profit, plus you're making additional maybe $800, $900 up to $1,500 with late payments and additional profit from the financing. That's the aspect of the business I didn't learn much about. I hated it because I didn't want to chase the customers. I thought they were like the worst customers in the world, but I'll tell you what, that is true wealth and success when you can actually build your own book of business. Plus, once you start off with your buy here, pay here, you become the bank. You set the pace for your dealership success. I have dealer friends of mine. It doesn't matter whether the stock market's up, stock market's down, the new president is a Republican or a Democrat, if it's snowing, raining, whatever it is, does not matter. He will always sell cars at a steady pace because he's getting that money coming in. Most buy here, pay here dealers are getting thousands of dollars, if not daily, weekly, and then by monthly, you're looking at, obscene amount of money. So I always tell people to start off with something small. If you can afford to do one car a month, buy here, pay here at $400 a week or $400 a month, that's what you want to do. You want to start off. So if you get a really good trade-in and it's, You're into the car, $1,500. See if you can get somebody that'll give you $1,500 down. So now you're out of the car, sell it for $3,500 and start building the process and getting used to accepting weekly payments. As you get this one going, you're like, wow, it's going pretty good. You start doing more. Every time a customer gives you a down payment for a car, you use that to go buy another car and you replace it. Eventually you work yourself up to 5 a month, 10 a month, 20 a month, 30 a month, 40 a month, 50 a month. Once that snowball starts rolling, like I was saying, you make your own book of business. There's banks out there that will give you money to lend to go out and do business deals like this. One of the things that we also do is if you're a buy here, pay here dealer, we buy deals from you. There's a lot of people that can't get traditionally financed because of, the whole COVID restriction. People can't get regular loans. So you could take those people in-house, finance them for 90 days, which is called seasoning the paper, bundle it together and sell it to a bank, and the bank will buy it. You get your money back, customer's happy, gets the car. Now you can go buy another car and replace it. I did that when I first started. Bundle your deals for 90 days, sell them. Get a bunch of deals together after 90 days, bundle those together, sell them off. Eventually you'll get enough capital where you can afford to hold these notes to term. Once you do that, that's when I said you have true success, because now if you need to sell an extra 5, 6 cars, all you gotta do is tell your sales guys, hey man, I know I need 15 or 2 grand down on every car. We're gonna drop it to $1,400 to $1,800 per car. Just make it happen. I wanna get these cars out. Put all these cars out on the road, take that paper, like I said, bundle it up, send it out the door. You'll see your bank fees compared to the risk you're gonna take with buy here, pay here is much, much less. And a lot of people don't know this, but when you're a new car dealer, or a used dealer, you're gonna have this thing called recourse. So if you sign up with these banks like we talked about earlier, and let's say you have really bad credit and everything else, they're gonna make me sign a 1, 2, or 3 payment recourse on that contract. What that means is if the customer does not make his first 1 to 2 to 3 payments, I have to pay the bank back, and then I have to chase the customer for the vehicle. I'm telling you, it happens all the time. It's really ugly, especially during Christmas time. There is nothing worse than I'm like trying to make my bills, pay my guys, so everyone can have a good Christmas, and then I get a knock on the door. Oh yeah, these 4 customers, they just disappeared. We don't know where they're at. You owe us a check for $120,000, and we need it in like a week. See you later. You have no choice. You have to pay the banks back and then go chase your cars, or else you won't be able to finance with them. And once you break that trust, they're going to tell every dealer that you're a piece of shit and you don't pay your bills, and none of the banks will start working with you. It'll get really ugly. So if you can afford to do buy here, pay here, I truly recommend it. Going forward, that is probably going to be the best thing, especially now with the birth of like the big movement for side hustles. I have a friend of mine, no joke, she makes $15K a month making candles online. I told her she needs to get on one of these CNBC shows like Millennial Millionaires. She is killing it. And all she does is make certain scented candles, and she makes them from home in scratch. You can actually, when you go to her website, you can see her doing it. But traditional banks will not finance somebody like that because they'll want like a 1, 2 years of business tax returns. She doesn't have it. Where you as the person, you're like, okay, this person's making money. I see in the bank statements, but these newer banks, they don't care. They want profit and balance sheet. They want a certified CPA to stamp it to say it's okay. A lot of these small business owners can't afford that, or it may cost them $2,000, $3,000 to get that documentation together from their CPA for them to show you, which that could be your down payment. So it leaves a lot of space for dealers like yourselves, new dealers, to get into the market, to start taking up some of this market share. And I believe that as we move forward, there's going to be more and more people that are going to fit that demographic. So anyways, I don't want to ramble too much. I know it's been a long video. I just want to thank you guys so much again for watching. Once again, gently squeeze the like button for the YouTube algorithm. Make sure you subscribe. Once again, follow us on Instagram at automotive.life, and we'll see you next video.